Hi.
Hi guys, I'm Natasha, and today we are discussing our book of the month, which is sponsored by Sourcebooks. Thank you, Sourcebooks.
Yay!
I'm here with my fiction faction ladies, and we are so excited to discuss Furyborn and just everything. Oh my gosh. So if you guys would like to introduce yourselves, we didn't talk about an order, but I will just name you guys and then you can go.
Okay.
First, I am Natasha. You're on my channel, Tashopolis. And yeah, Naya, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Naya from Naya Reads and Smiles, and I like books. And Maureen.
Maureen, yes.
I'm Maureen from the channel Maureen Kiwi, and I also like books.
What?
What? Who knew, guys? Who knew?
Oh, sorry, Hannah.
Hi, my name is Hannah. My channel is A Clockwork Reader, and shockingly enough, I also like books.
Oh my god.
I know.
Hi, I am Haley, and my channel is Haley and Bookland, and I do not like books. I wanted to throw in a curveball. I know. I got out.
And is that everyone? Okay. So there's a chat. Okay. I hear myself.
Yeah, I was like, somebody's echoing. It's not me. I have headphones.
I don't have headphones, but I don't know if it's me.
Okay, hold on. Nope, I can hear myself.
Yeah, I can hear it too.
Hannah, I think, do you hear echoing?
I hear you echoing, and I heard Haley echoing.
I don't hear anybody echoing.
I hear everybody echoing.
Do you want me to? I'll do it. Hold on.
I'll put them in too.
We're a hot mess, but it's okay.
Technical difficulties. Okay. Hello. I can still
I don't hear echoes anymore.
I hear a little bit. Okay, so if you guys want to ask us questions, the chat is open. Either if you're on your phone, it's below, or if you're on desktop, it's to the side. And so we will be taking your questions later on. So get them ready, and I will be scrolling through them. So first, Haley, are you ready?
I'm so sorry. I'm plugging in my headphones. I couldn't find it.
You're fine.
Now they're not working. Oh, I'm having so many struggles.
It's not working?
No, my headphones aren't working.
You're fine. I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't hear anything either.
Oh, wait. Now they're working. Because now I can't hear you.
We're on the struggle bus, guys.
Oh, my God. Now I can
Bless your soul.
struggling.
Okay, I don't know where to start with this book, but should we just like discuss the premise, I guess?
Should we do non-spoil? We can do that and non-spoiler thoughts.
Yeah, we can do non-spoiler thoughts. Like, what is your? No one really reviewed it unless I think Naya did with a wrap up.
Yeah, I did a wrap up and like a reading vlog with it. Do you want me to summarize it?
Yeah, like what grade?
Okay.
What percentage did you give it? And then everyone else can go on here.
I give it 7 out of 10 stars. I thought like the overall plot was really unique, and I like the beginning. The only reason why I took off 3 stars was because I was kind of confused about what was going on in the beginning. But once you like get past about like 150 pages, it's like, okay, you can kind of get invested in it, and it's actually like really cool. And it has a lot of different, I don't know, types of like magical creatures, and there's like angels and elemental magic, and I don't know, it's just like a combination of everything, and that's like what I really enjoyed about it.
Anyone else have thoughts?
I mean, we didn't really talk about the premise, but I can.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Honestly, like the premise of this book.
Good job, Naya.
The premise of this book is so confusing. I
think it's hard because it's like, do you want to like spoil it or do you not? So I've been trying to be really vague. So how I've described it is basically there are 2 queens living 1,000 years apart, and there's this prophecy about blood queens and sun queens. Sun queen saves the world. Blood Queen destroys the world, and it follows these 2 girls that are different queens. And yeah, that's like the basics of it. It's hard to like
nailed it.
It's like one of those things where it's like, how much do you say? Because some stuff is kind of spoilery, and even like yeah, some stuff is spoilers, some stuff is not. I think one thing I really appreciated about this book is that I think that like when you like initially say like Sun Queen or Blood Queen, you have kind of an idea of like who could fit into those categories, and the characters don't really fit that because of the circumstances that they're in. They're like living, like they're both living in such different lives that they're just like making it work for them, but they don't fit in the category that you think that they fit into. So I'm still echoing.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. Just as far as like my non-spoiler thoughts, it's like you definitely go into the book thinking you know these characters because it's like Sun Queen and Blood Queen, and you're like, oh, the Sun Queen is a good one, and the Blood Queen is a bad one, and it's this, and like they're way more complicated than that, and I feel like they're actually so opposite of what their titles are, and yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But does anyone else have any other thoughts or can add to the premise of this story?
I mean,
my dog.
I completely agree. I really, really liked how, like, that part definitely surprised me. Like, I thought, oh, okay, like, Blood Queen's gonna be evil, Sun Queen's gonna be good, but it's, like, not that at all. And I really enjoyed the complexity in their characters in that way. But I also really liked the, like, the world. Naya, like, you kind of said this a little bit, like, it's a mix of so many different things.
Yeah.
But it's honestly just, like, so amazing that it doesn't feel overwhelming. Like it actually like worked all together.
Yeah.
And this was the first book I've read about like with angels in it for like in like a while, and I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about this reminded me of like reading like YA when I was like 13, 12. Like it had the vibe of a lot of those books that I read early on, but like somehow just like on another level, and I just really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I thought it reminded me a lot of like adult fantasy almost, because it was way more intense and way darker than I was expecting. Like I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I knew it was a fantasy and I didn't know that there was going to be like creatures or anything. I knew that there were royals, but it was just really different than I was expecting, and it was very character driven, which I really loved. I loved all the characters.
I think, Hannah, that you really hit it on the head, that there's so many different things happening, but it works. Like you don't feel like it's like swallowing you, if that makes sense, of like there's so much happening and you're like, I'm gonna die, I can't pay attention to anything. What's more confusing is the timeline than like the magic system.
Just pause for someone is repeating again.
I don't know why it is so much.
Okay,
like, it's really loud.
Actually, Haley, can you mute yourself, and then we can find out if it's you or somebody else.
It's you. That's a single out. Just you, Haley.
Okay.
It's Haley.
Wait.
Oh.
No, it's not.
What?
Is it me? Hold on.
Mute?
Is it her?
She hasn't. You have to mute on the thing. Oh, wait. I don't hear an echo anymore.
I don't hear it anymore.
Me neither.
Naya?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Am I echoing?
Oh.
It keeps coming back and then leaving.
Oh, okay, wait. Let me try.
Could I unmute myself? Was that
Yeah. I don't hear it anymore.
It keeps coming back and then like
so
leaving.
Is back?
I can hear it.
Okay. Let me try something.
Naya's trying. I think.
Is it me?
Is this still echoing?
I don't hear it.
Oh,
okay.
A little.
No, I think we're good.
I think we're good now.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I started listening. I listened to this half on audiobook and like half read it. And I could not listen to this on audiobook because the beginning was so like confusing. I just remember like reading the prologue and just being like, whoa.
I was so lost.
The prologue was amazing though.
Yeah, it was.
I was so confused, but I was like, what is happening? It was very intriguing.
I reread the prologue after I finished the book, and it made so much more sense. Like, after you finish it and you go back and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. But when you're just kind of thrown into it, you're like, okay, wait, what? There's this guy and then this, what's going on here? And they're doing what?
I feel like the prologue reminded me of, you know, whenever you watch vlogs and they put the most like interesting thing at the beginning and then they like go in. That's what the prologue was. It was like it wasn't even in the book later. It'll be in a later book, I'm sure. But it was like something that just like starts with a bang and then like draws you in. And it's like, what is happening?
It was so good because it was like you just start off with like why did that just happen, and then you just have to know, so you have to keep reading. And like it definitely kept me reading.
I just remember like the timeline, like actually like seeing it in person, seeing like the year like 980 of like the second age, and then like 1032, and it did make sense that it was only like a few years later. So I think that was the most confusing part, because some of the time, like, did everyone read those little bits before? You got okay.
That was confusing.
That was the most confusing part in my opinion.
That was the most confusing part.
Yeah,
because like there's a lot of I hear myself echoing. Okay, there's a lot of like backstory, like along with like the saints, and like trying to remember each of those names was really confusing, because you're like, okay, what happened with the angels like years ago that we don't even know about yet? And then like we're trying to remember 1,000 years back with Riel, and then 1,000 years forward with Eliana. But like it was so compelling. I just remember like getting half the book and just not being able to stop, because I loved how short the chapters were too, because you just wanted to get to like the next part of each girl's story, and you're just like, wait, no, and then you got thrown back into Riel's, and you're just like, wait. It was so good. I love that part.
I think you could definitely tell that like the author Claire Legrand, I think when we met her, she said she had been like had this story in her head for like 10 years 14, or something like 14. That. And
that makes sense.
Totally tell that this was like a seed that she had been like cultivating forever, and she has like so much backstory in her head that we don't even know about yet, that we're going to find out about in like future books, and you find it out like slowly. She uses time really well and in really interesting ways, which I could really appreciate, because time is such a struggle when you're writing. So I was like, how could you like do that with the time? It was just like so crazy. I couldn't do that.
I read her acknowledgments just this morning, and she had 3 like binded up notebooks of the story. So I'm wondering if they took, because if she needed 14 years to craft this story, I'm wondering if she had already had it all written out, and then they just like chopped it all up, and then she was able to go in to each draft. Like I think that would be interesting how to ask her like how she did that, because if she needed all that time, like I can't even imagine how like the second and third book are going to go. Because I felt when I was reading this that since we knew the end of Riel, but like, is that the end of Riel? Was this going to wrap up all in the first book? Like it did feel like a standalone, but it didn't, because there's more to come.
Are we switching to spoilers yet?
We're switching to spoilers.
Okay, I was gonna say there's also just so many things that you hear about that are like legend for Eliana that she talks about, and you're like, wait.
Yeah.
What? How does that happen? And then you don't find out, and I was like, excuse me, like she kills Audric, and you find that out that she kills Audric, but you don't know how it happens, and I was like, excuse me.
But you have to go through the whole book knowing that happened, but you're still in like an earlier part of like Riel's story, and then you kind of just have to wait, and you're just like, it's coming. I know it's coming.
I was reading when I read like the part where like she kills him, and I was just like not paying attention, because I was like, I don't know who these people are. I don't care right now. And then like then you get later on, and I was like, wait, I really like Audric. And then I was like remembering, I was like, why is that name familiar? Did they mention him in the first chapter? And then I went back and then I read it again, and I was like, no, this can't happen. Oh my God. I feel like I did that so many times. Like I would go back and I would be like, wait, when did they mention this? Like I need to know, like, are they foreshadowing something here? Like,
it's definitely a book where you kind of have to do that, and like you know that something is important, but you only know after you've read it. Then you're like, why does that ring a bell? Like, where did I hear about this before? And then you have to kind of go back and like trace the steps. That's why it's kind of like the book is really a journey in itself, it takes you like all over the place where you're trying to kind of like piece together things. So I felt like it was kind of interactive in that respect, because which was really interesting because not many books are like that. But I found myself being like, what is happening? Like, how is this all going to connect, and trying to actually connect it, which for me, I don't do that a lot. I read as it goes. Like, I'm not trying to guess what's going to happen. But this time I was like, what is going to happen? Like, I need to know immediately.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's like, I don't know who talked about it, but it's like whenever, it's interesting because it's whenever the author gives the audience like a piece of information. So like, you know what's going to end up happening to Riel later. So you're like, how does this happen? Like, how does everything piece together? And you're like, I know things you don't know. To the characters, like, no, you're going to hurt him. Also, like, stop freaking talking to Corian in your head, because obviously he's gonna ruin everything. But
I was so sad to find out that Corian was like the villain, because I really liked
I knew he was the villain from the get-go.
I knew he was the villain because of those like cards that we got, and I saw his face. I was like, "There's no way this guy is."
Yeah, this guy. There's something there.
I just like, but I'm like, okay. Well, once we figured out that like she was in love with Audric and how all that stuff happened, now I switched over to Audric. I'm always the one who likes the problematic characters.
Same.
Wait, there was something I wanted to say. So the way like how the story works and like interlocks with each other, and it's like you keep reading, you're finding out stuff. It really reminded me of Once Upon a Time, and because Once Upon a Time does that whole like back in the enchanted forest and then in normal time, and it's just like this is a big spoiler if you guys are still watching, but like Eliana is the child. I feel so weird saying this because I don't know if there's like people here who haven't read it, but Eliana is the child of Riel, and it's just so, it reminded me so much of Emma Swan from Once Upon a Time, and just how that storyline really worked with each other. So I had a really good time with it because that's like one of my favorite TV shows. And I love how like it made me think about how we think of the stories that we hear, like fables and like even stuff from the Bible, and how things get passed down, and how you think like things can't be true since it was 1,000 years earlier. And I really loved seeing that, and then like seeing the true story of Riel, because like I couldn't help but feel I loved her. She's amazing, and I'm really sad to see what's going to happen to her in like the next books.
Yeah, I feel like my big question. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. You can go ahead if you want.
Okay. I feel like my big question with this, especially because it's so evident in the way that like Blood Queen and Sun Queen aren't good and evil, is that like, what is she like going to do with Riel? Because like, obviously she's not evil. Obviously, if she kills Audric, there's a reason she killed Audric. She was possessed, or like something had to have happened. Like maybe she was protecting him. Like who knows? Maybe he's not dead. That's my theory.
Wait, Pa. I thought he was gonna bite the dust when they had sex for the first time. Like, that's it. This is right, guys.
Oh my god.
No,
sorry,
well,
Hannah, go on.
Yeah, Hannah, keep.
But my question is like, what is she gonna do with that? Like, I just want to know, like, so badly, because I feel like I had this other thing where like I loved Riel as like the character like the most for like half of the book, and then halfway through I was like, no, I like Eliana more, and now I'm just like, I don't know, I like both of them a lot. But like I just felt myself just like constantly wondering like what her whole like plot for this is going to be like in the end, with like the good versus evil not really being good versus evil. And I just like somehow want them to meet, even though that's like not possible. Maybe it is, who knows, because she's been alive for 1,000 years. But yeah.
Yeah, I loved that it was like a story for her. I like Natasha touched on this, but I love the fact that you were kind of like living the story and seeing behind the scenes of the story, and how that was one of the coolest elements to me. And I think you guys can all agree, like loving stories so much, and you grow up with like fairy tales and stuff like that, and then it was like seeing the actual character living like that fairy tale, and then seeing the other one who hears about it. I thought that was just a really interesting dynamic, and I think she really opened a lot of doors for herself to like the author to see where things can go, because like I feel like it's kind of impossible to guess, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like there can be a million theories about it because there are so many loose ends that still need to be tied up.
Yeah, I really liked that. Well, first, I have a question really fast before we start. How soon did you know that Eliana was her daughter? Because I feel like I was like, first chapter, I was like, oh yeah.
Wait,
I thought, the whole time I thought that she was Eliana. Like,
oh yeah,
that's what I was thinking. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought they all were like reincarnated. Like Navi was Ludimir, is that her name? Ludi?
Ludivine? Ludivine, yeah, that's what it is.
I thought Navi was her, and I thought Simon was Audric, so that's what I thought.
Even though Simon is literally in the first part of the book.
There's too many characters, okay?
Honestly.
I literally thought it was like their great grandchildren or something, and it wasn't until they mentioned like Simon being like, or they brought him, or they talked about him in Riel's world. I'm like, then it clicked. I'm like, okay, this could be like her child. But I'm like, how would the time period thing? That's like the time period thing, like the whole like traveling. Like I didn't figure that out till like the very very end.
Yeah, was it Riel's magic that made them go back in time, or was it the prophets?
No, it was their magic. They have magic.
Oh, the Mark's magic.
Yeah. I am just really curious because we only got hints of it, and you like see the start of how angels are like controlling people's minds, but you don't really see how it's happening and like why and like how that whole thing works. And I really like how complex the characters were because of like obviously Eliana is just kind of like you like quote unquote bad, but it's literally like she's like, this is what I have to do to survive, so I'm gonna do it. And then also you see Riel and you want to like slap her upside the head for keeping talking to Corey and like, what the crap are you doing? Like, you know, this is a bad thing, but like she doesn't have anybody else to talk to about it. So that's like her one person that she can like really like talk to about what she's going through because nobody else knows everything. And so it's like you understand, but you're also like, what the crap are you doing? But I just like, I want to know how angel magic works because like she was a little bit like she had some like where she was like singing to Riel or to Eliana at the very beginning, and it's like a little creepy and weird, and you don't know like it's like how does that whole thing work? I'm so confused by it still because she didn't explain it for the reason that like I'm sure it's going to be explained later, but I'm just like, how does that work? What's happening?
Yeah, I also thought it was. Oh, sorry. Were you gonna?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I thought it was a really cool take on angels. Like I've read a lot of like angels books, and I want to say I haven't read any angel books that have taken place in like a high fantasy world. Usually it's like it'll be like in the real world, but with like guardian angels or something like this. And so when they were introduced, and not only them being there as like good angels, but also like evil mind controlling like angels, I thought that was really cool, and I found that like really interesting, and that kind of like pushed me like I felt like pushed the plot forward for me because I wanted to know more about like Maureen said, like how exactly does this mind control work, like what like I just thought it was really cool.
Mm-hmm. I thought the angels was a really interesting thing to do too because you never see it. Like you said, you see it mostly I feel like for romance purposes. Like, I remember way back when I started booktube, I read Unearthly by Cynthia Hand, which is just this really kind of like smutty sort of thing, like low-key. But it's definitely for the romance purpose of it. But I felt like romance kind of took a backseat in this story. I was way more invested in the female friendships that were going on. And I like loved all the friendships that were happening. So I thought it was kind of almost reclaiming the notion of angels because they're kind of like how people think vampires are corny now. Like something like that, but it was like, no, like they can actually be interesting. So it kind of reminded me of Angel Fall by Susan E., which is more of a dystopian, but they're like hard angels, not just like, oh, beautiful, like ethereal beings. It was actually it was like
it's like they will kill you.
I felt the angels were very similar, especially when we met Zara, who's a wraith, who was like actually my favorite character.
Mine too.
She's so funny.
She's so great.
But I felt they were very similar to fairies in a way, like with the way that they felt sick when they approached them. And I don't know, I thought they were a little similar to fairies, especially with the, what?
I was just going to say it was combining like different folklore, which was interesting.
And they don't have like I hear myself echoing. They don't have like a maker, which is usually what angels are. They usually are like a creator's like army.
Yeah.
So they're like their own thing.
Maybe we'll get that in the second book.
What?
Maybe they'll the author will write more about that in the second book, like kind of, because we didn't get that, like you said, so maybe it'll come into play at some point. Like we'll get like more of like, where did the angels come from, and like how did this, like what is this gate thing, and like all of that.
Yeah. Someone asked, where did it go? I was looking at this the entire time and now it's gone. Darn it. Okay. Syrup asked if we liked Riel or Eliana more. I know we kind of touched on this, but do you guys have a favorite?
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, for a while, Riel was my favorite, and I didn't care that much about Eliana. And then after like halfway through, Eliana was my favorite, and I was annoyed with Riel because she kept talking to Corian. But then like at the end, they were both kind of like, I just really liked both of them for very different reasons, and I just appreciate them for who they are because they're so different. But I also feel like neither of them are I don't know, kind of like stereotypical in any way. They seem just like so unique and very much themselves, and I just really like that.
I would say Eliana was my favorite. I was kind of torn in the beginning, like Hannah. I didn't really know, but I found that I was just really invested in Eliana as a character. I can't really explain why. Like I was drawn to both of them quite instantly, but honestly, Eliana, just something about her. I really wanted to know like her story, where she was going to end up. And maybe it's because we like didn't know, because Riel, we kind of get a glimpse of it. So I think that may have been why I got more invested in her story and her as a character.
I really liked Riel. I think the most, but towards the end there, it was definitely, I couldn't wait to read both of the girls' chapters, but in the beginning it was definitely Riel, and I think it had a lot to do because her life was a bit more glamorous, and I like the glam. So I really liked her. And I liked all the internal struggle she had, especially like with Corian, like I mentioned before. Like I was really intrigued by him at first until I found out that he was a villain.
But you're still intrigued, let's be real.
I mean, now that I know he's like an 1,000-year-old emperor, not really, but like back then.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, I was gonna say Eliana was my favorite. Like because of like same thing what Haley said. Like we didn't know what her ending was gonna be, and I just liked the not knowing where she was gonna end up, if she was gonna even be alive. And I don't know. But with Briella, like I said, or like in the prologue, it definitely, I feel like, gave away what was gonna happen ultimately to her. So I knew whatever happened to Riel throughout the story, I'm like, okay, this is what's gonna end up. Sorry, I'm echoing.
I really liked both of them as well. It's really hard for me to pick a favorite because there's things I didn't like and things that I really loved about both of them. Like Riel was getting so annoying at the end with freaking talking to Corian, but you know her heart's like in the right place. But I really like piecing together like stories of like, okay, so like this was something that happened later in her life. How is she getting there? Like, what are all the steps? I love when like people like come into play later and things all coming together. but I also really loved seeing Eliana like learn about who she was, because she had no idea. She just was like, I can heal, but it's because her magic was stuck inside. And then also like her really like coming to terms with her, that she like wasn't this like hardened criminal that she thought she was. She was like trying to be something she wasn't to survive. And I don't know, I just really like, they both had frustrating moments, but they both were so good. I like them both a lot. Like, I thought it was like, yeah, it's real. And then I was like, no, I'm thinking about it more, and I really liked Eliana. So I'm torn in the middle.
I was really frustrated with Eliana when she went to Lord, whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really frustrating part. But then she like totally redeemed herself when she threw bombs in the middle. Like, I was just like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, the whole thing also where she saw Corian through the guy, but that's another thing that I'm like, obviously that guy is like being controlled by an angel somehow, but I'm like, I was just like, how? I don't want to know how, and I have no answers.
It's like contact lenses. Put it in their eye.
Let's see. Book Syrup again asks, what do you guys think about Simon's storyline, especially regarding his timeline in both Riel and Eliana's lives?
I love Simon.
I loved when he was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
I just like saw a little kid. I was like, you're Simon. It has to be Simon.
He was so precious. I just feel really bad for him because I feel like he was thrown in. He was like 8 in the prologue, I want to say, like 8 or 10, and he's like thrown into this huge responsibility as like someone who's been used to fading into the background, because he's, what is that? The creature that's like half angel, half human. Is that what he is? Is that it?
A mark?
Mark?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So he's like used to fading into the background, and he just like gets thrust into this huge responsibility. He time travels for the first time and then loses Eliana and like doesn't know what he's doing. And I was like, bless his soul. He's been through so much.
I just liked how cocky he was.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Can I just ask, does anybody else not like the romance between Simon and Eliana?
I feel weird about it because it sounds like he was basically like worshiping her at the end, and I was like, that's where I felt weird about it. Like before that, where they were both kind of like holding their own and like kind of like sassing each other back and forth, I was like, okay, like I could be down for this. But later it's like very like idolizing, and I was like, now can we like step back a little bit?
Yeah.
It did switch rather abruptly.
Yeah.
The way he was treating her, and then I did weird that, okay.
I felt like the relationship in the beginning, when it was like sort of that love-hate relationship, like when he was first introduced, like that first scene when they met in the house, that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the book, just because, I don't know, I love when like characters meet for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how they're kind of like Maureen said, like the back and forth kind of bickering, like I'm like a sucker for dialogue, and so like I felt like their dialogue they had some of the funniest dialogue. But then again, like what you guys were saying towards the end, when it was like, it was just really, it got weird towards the end.
To me, I think it's just because like my entire like thought process around it was like, oh, he's like so much older than her, and he's like kind of her protector, so low-key her dad, because she like didn't have it. So like in my mind that's what it was, and then all of a sudden they were making out and I was like, no.
It's okay. I don't know. Have you guys watched Once Upon a Time?
Yes, I've seen all of it. It's basically exactly what happens.
So much like it. It's like Pinocchio takes Emma,
but
and then they fall in love. Not really, but
I hated him with her. So
I did too.
Okay.
I mean,
I feel like because he like literally had her when she was a baby.
Sorry.
I feel like I didn't get that protector vibe because he kind of failed at his job a little bit. I mean, he failed in that he was trying to do it, and then Riel died and screwed everything up. So it wasn't really his fault, but like that was his first time seeing her in like 16 years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I didn't feel that at the beginning, but it just got like real like, you're my queen and I will do literally anything for you. And I was like, okay. I've never felt that strongly about a person in my life. Like, I love people, but
I feel like that about my cat. That's it. Literally it. Jackson is my prince, but that is it.
Someone asked, Miss Ferreira asked, if we could be one character, who would you be and why?
ooh, definitely Riel, because, well, I think I would want to be Riel, but make better choices.
That's fair.
I would want the life of Riel, but I would be like, Corian, you out, skis.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I would want to be Zara so I can just like fade in and out of rooms whenever I want to, spy on everyone, know everything, and like mind my own business.
That is
See, I would pick Zara, but I wouldn't like the not being able to comfort like your loved ones.
That's true.
Yeah.
I would be Remy.
Good choice.
Safe choice.
Yeah.
Remy is great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn to pick. Sorry, there's like a half a second lag. And so okay, sorry. No, I would also, I think I would either be Zara or Remy, because I feel like Remy doesn't have to worry too much about some of the trials and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I feel like Zara's just really cool, and I just like her personality.
I think I'd be Riel, just because, I don't know, I guess I love the idea of her. Even though, I love Eliana, I love the idea in the story.
She's a legend.
So, in ideal, I would be Riel.
Yeah, that would be my second choice besides Remy. She had to do so much, though. I hear myself repeating. Hold on. Just the mazes and the trials. Did you guys like that aspect?
I thought it was really cool, except I kind of felt like the trials weren't I don't know, they weren't different enough in a way.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen it before.
Yes, it very much
Goblet of
Fire. I got major Goblet of Fire vibes. I don't know why. I just kept on thinking of Harry getting the dragon's egg. That's all I could think of.
Or the underwater one.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of the entire time.
I think the only thing that really made them different for me, which wasn't that much, was the element of Corian being added in and telling her things to do. That was what the difference was. But the outside was very similar, and nobody can see what's actually happening, and she's all by herself.
Yeah.
I just feel I think that's the only aspect that wasn't unique about this book. I think because we've seen it so much in other YA books, like A Court of Thorns and Roses, the Hunger Games, and
Throne of Glass.
Fire, Throne of Glass. It's just we don't always need games to sell a book, and it wasn't even I didn't even know that was a part of.
No, neither did I. Yeah.
So I don't think it was really needed, but
no, yeah.
Fine. Glad we all agree. Hold on, sorry. I'm trying to look for questions. Keep talking. Oh, how did you guys feel about? I can hear myself. It's annoying. One of my favorite parts with Riel was when Ludoving's dad pushed her off the cliff. I just thought that part was really thrilling.
Yeah.
That was a really thrilling part. And then the creature went Maurice. What'd she name him?
Oh, the flying horse thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pegasus.
Yes. I'm really interested to see how those creatures come to play, because that's they're old world creatures, and nobody had seen them for so long. So I'm sure there'll be more in future books.
I hope so, because I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
I also just really I love Audric, but I'm I want him to know what's happening with Riel, and he's just no, I just love you. I love you. That's it.
Blinders on.
The Chevelle.
Mm-hmm.
God beast.
Chevelle. I know, I love that creature. When she was pushed off the cliff, I thought she was gonna create a wind bubble or something and float herself back to the ground safely. But then when the creature came out of nowhere, I'm oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, I loved that part. I also liked, I don't remember which trial it was. It's the one where she's like saving the kids. And then like the very end of it, when then like I don't exactly remember what was happening. Like so many of those trials happened. But like there was like the circle of swords around her. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the maze had turned itself into like swords and they all came at her in every single direction.
Yeah. And then like she's just like in the center of it with like the kid or whatever who she's protecting. That part was so good. I could just like vividly see it in my head. I was like, this would look epic if it were a movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I felt a lot of it could really help with like some cinematic help because I think was it ever hard for you guys to like picture the book?
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's why I kind of struggled in the beginning with like it took me a while to get into because I really fell in love with the idea of it instantly, but I had a lot of trouble following things and kind of like distinguishing between the two main characters in the beginning. Like I kept on getting them confused and I was like, wait, who am I reading about again? And I think that part of that would have helped with being able to kind of picture it and conceptualize it a little bit better.
Yeah, I always fan cast like my characters, and this one was so hard for me to do. Like the only clear picture I got was Oprah was Zara.
Amazing.
And like Oprah from what was the movie that she just did?
Wrinkle Time.
Yeah. That's iconic.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Sorry. No, keep talking. My brother's coming in the room.
Okay, in the beginning, I felt like same thing, like you said, Haley. Like I wasn't sure what was happening to what character, so I'd be like, "Oh, we're reading from this character," and I would think that like something that the other character did had happened to this character, and so I just kept getting their plot lines intertwined. And I also felt like they just give you so much information about the world within like the first 3 chapters. So you're trying to separate the plot lines, separate the timelines, separate like the world, and just like remember all of it, and you're kind of just like, "Oh my god!" So
yeah, it was. I don't know. It was interesting. It was just like it was really difficult in the beginning, and I think part of it is because of my own reading. Like when I read the little details, I struggle to remember them. So I was like, who are you? But once I really got into it, then I really got into it, which was
And I feel like I read like mainly fantasy books, and even for me, like it was a struggle to remember like smaller details.
Mm-hmm. I like Sarah Houston is asking if we could cast celebrities to portray in the movie. Who would we pick? Do you guys have any other people besides my Oprah pick?
I feel like I don't fan cast ever.
I know.
Me neither. I don't.
I don't relate to y'all. Okay.
I know.
Yeah, I don't fan cast
everyone.
Anything. I have like a very clear picture of how people look in my mind, but it's not ever associated with a person. Like Ludivine is very like, I don't even know if she's blonde, but in my head she's blonde, like very tall, regal blonde.
Yeah.
One that I think she felt like frick, what's the name from Lord of the Rings?
Galadriel.
Galadriel, yeah.
Kate.
It kind of felt a little bit like that to me. Just very like.
Yeah. What was Riel? Do you guys watch The Bold Type?
No,
I watched the first 2 episodes.
I've heard it's amazing, and I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Amazing. It's I fan casted Riel as one of the main actresses. She's like short and has really long dark hair.
Wait, is she the main character in The Bold Type, the one that just got the job? Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Do you guys have? Well, actually, someone asked us for a star rating since only Naya gave it. What would you guys give it?
I gave it 4.
I think I give it 4 or 4.5. I can't remember.
Wait, out of 5 or 10?
5.
Out of 5.
Okay.
I would give it 4. I loved the idea of it, but I've definitely read like a bit more of a thrilling fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me it was like a 3.75 to 4. Like that's kind of what I would give it. Like it depends on like if I'm comparing it to something else or if I'm just like giving it, you know what I mean? I feel like 5 star is like so limiting. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's room to grow.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like the thing with this one is that like, I feel like my rating of this book will be like more determined by the future books because like it just depends on where it goes, and that'll like make me like it more or less, you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
What do you guys have any predictions for like the next? Is it 2 more or is it just 1 more?
I have no idea.
It says the Imperium trilogy. 2 more.
I
honestly don't know how much more life Riel has to fill up 2 more books.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2 years, right? Like because she.
Yeah, it was 2 years previous.
Yeah,
that's when it went back.
Yeah, so she has 2 years. She has 2 years left of life.
I mean, obviously we know at some point like Corian is going to become the dictator, like kind of like while he's with Riel. So I just am really that's not a prediction. I'm just really curious to see how that happens. Because there was also something, oh man, like they had, I don't know what part it was. Dang it, I can't remember.
When Zara was showing her?
Yes, like all the things that Zara was showing her, like Riel and Corian together, I was like, what, how is that, like, how do we get there? Because he literally just like massacred a bunch of people.
Oh wait, are you talking about the part with like the body? She's like, what is she doing? Like sewing up a body or something? Resurrecting body, yeah. I need to know who that is. What if it's Audric? Like,
see, yes, that's what I was thinking. Audric.
I don't want to read Audric dying.
Me neither. Well, true. We haven't read the actual part yet.
I actually really wanted to see him go when they were having sex, but I feel like that would have been a good way to go.
But we know, I'm really curious about that scene because all we get from him dying is that they were on the balcony and she like stabs him through the heart. Like that's what we get from him dying. Like that's what we know.
Did she stab him through the heart or did she tear his heart out?
I thought she had a sword. I
thought she tore it out because I'm pretty sure in the beginning, like when Simon is like judging her or whatever in that prologue chapter, he says that like she tore his heart out. Like how dare she talk about him like she loved him when I think she literally tore it from his chest.
I'm just like
right now.
Do it. I would love to know that, but like I'm sure that scene is not everything obviously that Simon thought it was because we see her really loving Audric, so it's like, how did it get there?
Maybe it's like Ella Enchanted.
Also,
remember that movie?
I literally watched it yesterday.
Oh, amazing!
Also, don't they? I mean, like, do they get married too? Like, do her and Audric get married?
I hope so.
I'm really curious to see how Ludivine is like, because we know she is an angel, like how that whole thing plays out too.
Yeah. I just have a lot of questions.
I have so many questions,
honestly.
Hey, I just read a sentence. It says, the queen who had allied with the angels and helped them kill thousands of humans, the queen who had murdered her husband.
Ooh, so
yeah, they do get married.
So we don't, and it's not like, that's not there yet either because him and Lou are still engaged.
Yeah.
Even though she's been like, I give you my permission, whatever. Oh yeah, we need to talk about how Ludovier was
an angel.
Do you think that's Zara?
Yes. Oh,
yes.
100%. 100%.
I thought it was Corian at first. Like tricking them.
I hope you're wrong. I want it to be her because I'm sure
that
she's like, no, I'm here to help you.
Did anybody think it was weird at first? Because I thought it was really weird, like, that she was never informed of, like, the switch. And I feel like, I don't know, like, at first when I read it, I'm like, oh, and then she just, I don't know, I feel like I would have been, if I was in Riel's position, I would have been slightly more angry. Like, you know, like,
I think she was still, like, blinded by love a little bit because she's like, oh, cool, that means I definitely can be with Audric now.
That was really weird.
I found the line.
Yeah, I did too. I was going to read the whole thing.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Oh, okay. But not even King Odric the Lightbringer, the most powerful sun spinner in centuries, had been strong enough to defeat Queen Riel. The queen had carved a sword out of the air, a blinding weapon forged from the Imperium itself. Riel and Odric had fought blade to blade, but the fight had been brief. And when Riel plunged her glowing hand into Odric's chest to tear out his heart, there had been nothing but bloodlust in her eyes as she watched her husband fall to ashes at her feet.
That's the part that reminded me of Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just like, how do we get there? That I know where I got confused by sword because there was a whole thing about the sword.
Yeah.
But a glowing hand. That makes it sound like almost like a sacrifice. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Is that your sister?
sorry. Yeah. Oh my god. Hold on. I'll mute myself.
Yeah, I'm not ready for this.
Me neither.
No.
I'm just wondering if I don't know. Like, are we just gonna see her become more evil and evil? Like, is she literally gonna become the evil queen and then maybe get redeemed at some point? Because while she's talking about Eliana when she just gave birth, she is talking about Audric as well. And she says, Audric would have loved her, Riel whispered, her face crumpling. So she must have been possessed or something.
I'm telling you, Ella Enchanted, man.
What?
Yeah.
Like Ella Enchanted. She doesn't know what she's doing. She has to do it.
You know what I think might happen? Okay, do you remember the one scene when was it Eliana with that king guy? And she had sat on his lap and stuff and was like ready to like seduce him. And remember she's talking about how like she looked into his eyes, or it was when they did that thing where she could go and see the emperor.
Mm-hmm.
But she said like when she like came back to herself, she felt kind of like gross and like evil or something. Like she felt like the dark magic on her. It was like a really brief thing that she mentioned.
Navi. That was Navi.
Oh,
That was Navi?
Yeah, because
no, it wasn't her. Was it Navi? She said Navi told her later that she felt weird because of angel magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that like Riel, like her becoming evil, will have to do with like I think it's like someone else that's gonna be like it's not her. Like I think it's like someone else controlling her, and that's the reason why she's gonna go and like take.
Yeah, I mean,
Audric's heart.
it could be Corian. I mean, because Navi's storyline is crazy. We didn't even talk about that. Like, because Navi would go in and like pleasure these. What are they like the what are they?
Those
The Lord
auto.
for some.
Oh, it starts with an F.
Yeah. Fidelia. It sounds like fidelity. Fidelia. Yeah, like she would go in and like pleasure them and like look into their eyes and like cut them open and stuff, and then she would have to like go into a corner, or else she'd feel like she would like this darkness would overcome her. It's kind of like the Force.
The Force.
The dark side.
Other thing we didn't touch on. Can we talk about the fact that Riel is bi, and like I literally want this more explored in the next books like so badly.
Riel or Eliana? I thought Eliana was.
I mean Eliana.
Yeah, Eliana.
Sorry. Yeah.
And it was so like slyly like just like thrown in there, like just like a sentence like, oh yeah. It's like yes.
I just need a better romance for her than Simon. I just don't want that.
I hope like Simon and Avi or something get together. That just makes more sense. I don't know. Okay. By the way, the guy's name was Lord Morbray.
Morbray.
He was just so insignificant.
That was gross.
In my life. Oh, it was so gross.
Yeah. I didn't like him. He could just like fall off the balcony.
I really wanted to read that whole section again, like with the Emperor. That now that we know that it was Corian. But I'll do it later. Okay, I guess did we predicted stuff that we wanted to see happen? Was everyone happy in the comments? Do you want us to talk about anything else? Let us know. Let's see. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm looking at stuff.
Someone asked if anybody annotated this book, and I did not at all.
I did not.
I did not either.
I'm not an annotator though, so
Yeah.
I don't do the tab thing.
I do that.
I do sometimes, but I was too like invested.
Yeah.
I just had to keep going.
It's Julie Marie asked if we could change anything in the book. What would it be?
The introduction. I mean, not like rewrite the chapters, but well, maybe just I wish we got maybe like 2 or 3 consecutive chapters from one point of view and then 2 or 3 from another point of view, just to establish like the characters first before doing the whole back and forth with perspectives. And then I felt like it would have made it easier to get into.
Yeah. I wish like the little blurbs up top were just like so random. Like we had to like really think of like where they were coming from, or like if they were foreshadowing something in the chapter or they already talked about it. Or like if they just had like their Bible or something, like reference that stuff, because it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I agree. I would probably change that too, just because they were too confusing, and I feel like it'd be the type of thing you'd have to literally go back all the way through now after finishing it and like try and understand how they relate. And like, I don't have the time for that. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think that's it for our live show. One of the big questions we were getting was what happened to our Instagram giveaway, and we all picked our winners. And those winners. Do you guys want to say the winners if they're even here?
I just tagged mine in my thing. Sorry, you guys.
Okay.
Because everybody got a notification, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the winners have been chosen, but this month, it's already July, we are reading Save the Date by Morgan Matson.
I have it. Wait. Oh, sorry.
I'm really excited for everybody to read this.
I started it,
also
and it's
gonna
so
reread
good.
It's so good.
Oh.
I just finished Furyborn this morning, so I will be reading it. But I have a giveaway copy that's signed by Morgan that we are going to be doing a giveaway for, in a little bit differently than how we did this one with like all 5 of us posting. But you'll see everyone here. We're going to be reading it in July once again, and it's going to be sponsored by Squarespace. So thank you so much to them. And thank you so much to Sourcebooks for sponsoring us and having us for that amazing event that we had at BookCon. If you guys were there, let us know. We had so much fun, and just like hanging out with Claire.
It was amazing.
Like I wish we had all read the book and like just were able to ask her all these questions that we had.
She was great. She was so nice. So I loved that she was. I kept cutting this out of any of my videos. But she was really interactive in her signing. She asked people if they were Sun Queens or Blood Queens and signed with a different pen depending on that, which was so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great. Who are you all? Did we all get picked for our queens?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
But I choose myself as Sun Queen because what else would I be?
Okay. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and make sure you subscribe to everyone in the live show and continue reading with us. We had so much fun. Like we're gonna continue to read, but in August, Haley and I are gonna be with us, but I will figure out a way for us to be together again, okay? Okay, thank you all for watching. I'm Natasha. Say your names.
Oh,
I'm Maureen. Oh, sorry.
Go in the order from the beginning.
Order from the beginning.
Okay, I'll start again. I'm Natasha. Naya.
Oh, I'm Naya. Sorry, is the order different on all of our screens? Because it shows Maureen's.
It's from the beginning. The same order from the beginning.
Oh, that beginning. Okay. Hi, I'm Naya.
I'm Maureen.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm still Haley.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all on our next live show at the end of July, which we haven't picked a date for. So keep up to date on our Instagrams and our videos and stuff. So bye.